Tell me more about Crecimiento because right now there is, I think that a hackathon, like a co-working space. There should be some VCs around there. I would like to know who are some of the big names that are there and what are the most important problems that builders are solving right now in Argentina.
The quality of developers we have in this program is insane. We have people who are ex-Accenture, IBM, Volkswagen, that have worked at some of the biggest companies in Latin America as Web3 developers. Now we're transitioning to be Web3 developers.
Bitso announces the creation of Juno, that it's a new company that is born out of the purpose to fortify the infrastructure in basically MXN stablecoins. This company will be responsible of MXNB, Bitso's stablecoin. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Frontera, the podcast where we analyze what's happening in crypto in Latin America. As we all know, our region is one of the most important for crypto. We have a lot of demand, a lot of use cases. Kush and I are traveling across the region through events, identifying opportunities, building stuff. I'm Ab, co-founder and CEO of Bando and Espacio Crypto. I'm with my great friend Kush, founder of Odisea Labs. I'm currently in Monterrey. Kush is currently in Buenos Aires, and today we're gonna analyze a lot of MXN stablecoins. What's happening there? A lot of announcements in Bitso. We're also gonna talk about what's happening in Crecimiento. So remember to subscribe to our newsletter. There you're gonna be able to read our whole analysis. So Kush, where are you, man? Another background, another week. I think that you are a
Let's go.
globetrotter right now.
Yes, man. I am currently calling live from Crecimiento in Colegiales here in Buenos Aires. I came for a few days. There's a lot of activities going on. Merge, which is a conference that happens in Madrid and Buenos Aires as well, just took place here for the first time, looking to connect the Latin American ecosystem in Europe as well. So yeah, man, here in Buenos Aires, having asados every night. All I want is a piece of fruit or vegetable at this point, to be honest. It's
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy. But I think Monterrey has the same sort of asado culture, right? Like carne asada, that's it.
Yeah, people here in Monterrey love carnita asada. I think I don't know. It's something really Latin also. The asados. I think that it's across the region. In other places of the world, they don't do it as well as we do. Americans do barbecue, but they are absolutely different. Europeans do other kinds of stuff. And dude, tell me about Argentina right now. Like, what's the vibe? Because yesterday, Argentina won versus Brazil, 3-4-1, and that's like huge event in the country. How
Yeah.
was the vibe? What's the vibe right there in the co-working space?
Yeah, man. No, I mean, look, Dev Connect is coming. I've heard 5,000 people are coming. I've heard 10,000 people are coming. I've heard 20,000 people are coming. Like, I've hearing all sorts of numbers, right? It's somewhat hard to fully measure and understand how many people are actually going to be here. What we do know for sure is that there will be thousands of people that are going to be descending in Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires is going to be next level. It's really going to be a very, very special moment in November. ETH Latam was also announced November 8th and 9th in Sao Paulo. So, man, it's like things are picking up, things are moving, the energy is shifting. The insights from here, again, football match yesterday, Brazil lost to Argentina 4-1. Obviously, but everyone was super ecstatic. This is for the World Cup qualifiers too. Everybody knows Argentinians love their football, and that last World Cup match against France was very harrowing, but just a beautiful game. On the builders front, man, I mean, there's just a bunch of young, hungry builders trying to navigate the problem space, trying to navigate the idea maze. I watched the Bondi team pitch here. Paydiz is another team, and BRLA, which is a Brazilian stablecoin, made it to the finals at Merge. As far as startup pitches go. So, dude, just lots of things cooking, lots of things in the works. I'm bullish as always, just bringing lots of energy and excitement. So, how about
Yeah,
you, man? What's going on in Monterrey? What's cooking over there?
yeah. Yesterday in Monterrey, we had an event with Binance, so that's why we're here. Yeah, man, and actually, the whole Espacio Crypto team is here. So, guys, say hello to the camera. They're right next to me while I'm recording. So it's really fun. It's a team offsite. We came here to do the event with Binance, and it was amazing. A round of 130 people gathered together talking about basically crypto, Binance liquidity. I think that one of the best things of doing these events is that, man, we are collaborating with the top companies in the world. Binance, the Ethereum Foundation, Arbitrum, Optimism, and I think that you have that same feeling. That's a great validation because talking with different people in the industry is really hard to get professional people in Latin America to do stuff. And I think that we both are some of those people. Tell me more about Crecimiento because right now there's, I think that a hackathon, like a co working space, there should be some VCs around there. I would like to know who are some of the big names that are there and what are the most important problems that builders are solving right now in Argentina.
Yeah, so Crecimiento just wrapped up a 48-hour hackathon. They were some of the headline sponsors there were Mantles, EK Sync, WorldCoin, among a few others that are here in the ecosystem. A lot of people building DeFi stuff, PayFi, agents, some sort of social fi activations as well. I think like hackathons are really fun. They're just a cool way for developers to get engaged and sort of moving in the ecosystem. The Crecimiento's got their founder school, who Laura, who's Colombian, she's great, is running this whole program, right? So there's just a lot of energy, a lot of momentum, and again, I think it's really like Argentina's time to shine. And I think Crecimiento has been positioning itself. I think something we've talked about and the reflection that I often have is when you have this thesis and you're able to play it for a really long time, years and years and years and years. And it may be a contrarian bet, but then it's like you're surfing, right? And you're waiting for a wave to come. And that's your contrarian bet. You're saying, I think this wave is going to come right here. And sure enough, you look out on the horizon and then you see a swell starting to come and then you see the wave forming and then you paddle super hard to catch the wave. And then once you're on it, it's like a beautiful flow, So I think that's precisely what's sort of happening right now is all of us who have the foresight to do educational programs, to run hackathons, to start putting a lot of sort of research and energy into understanding the region. We're all really just kind of able to support and bring lots of resources and ecosystems to the space. Crecimiento's doing an incredible job. They've got an amazing team. And yeah, just feeling really, really bullish, man. So, the day after the hackathon, the hackers were passed out here in Crecimiento, and I saw some great teams that we're building here. So yeah, man, things are going super well. What do you think about positioning and the LATAM thesis playing out?
Well, I think that, I'm pretty vocal about this. Specifically in Mexico, I think that, well, in the whole region, in Latin America, we have huge demand for this type of products. And I don't think that we have enough supply. And definitely the country that it's solving that in the best way right now is Argentina with Crecimiento, because they are providing a supply of founders and startups to solve the problems. And these problems won't go away. So if we don't address them, they're going to come people from outside Latin America to solve them. And that's what has happened lately in Mexico. Like we just recorded with Etherfuse, we just published that episode on Tuesday, and that's an American team building on-chain Mexican bonds, right? And that's really cool because if they don't do it, someone else will. And also, I think that there's a big opportunity for international teams and founders to come to Latin America and solve these problems. I saw this tweet
Totally
that you
agree.
posted. I want to talk about this because I saw this tweet you posted about the builder quality in Latin America. Is something that Juanpi posted, and I couldn't agree more. And it's this thesis of hackers becoming founders in Latin America, and that's a really painful process because there are a bunch of teams that go, I don't know, from hackathon to hackathon, just winning some bounties and never having the business sense to actually build a startup around it. So that's something that we are addressing in our partnership with Starknet in the startup house. Basically, it's converting hackers into founders. And what's your perspective there? Because I saw that you retweeted the post, and I think that it's a consensus take, like a good consensus take around professional people in Latin America. We see that.
Yeah, I think there's just a massive jump if you want to go from being a hackathon uh, player to a serious founder, and it's a quantic leap if you are trying to, particularly from Latin America, like if you can code, especially today, man, you can vibe code things in a matter of a few hours and submit it for a hackathon, and bam, And yeah, for sure, for like the DevRel teams, look, man, I got a 50 people to hack on my thing. Okay, cool. And what's the retention? And how much volume and value are they bringing to mainnet? And how much capital are they onboarding to your chain, and so on and so forth. And you'll be surprised to find, or perhaps unsurprised to find, that it ends up being like single-digit percentage points with regards to people that actually stick around. I am a critic of hackathons with just a hackathon. If it's just a hackathon, it makes no freaking sense. If it's a hackathon with additional support to make sure you're retaining users and getting them, and builders in particular, and giving them all the resources they need, then I'm bullish, right? So, for example, this last week we just kicked off Nucleo, which is this educational program where we have 50 developers. Dude, the quality of developers we have in this program is insane. We have people who are ex-Accenture, IBM, Volkswagen, that have worked at some of the biggest companies in Latin America as Web2 developers. And now we're transitioning to be Web3 developers. And this is super exciting because we're bringing these like very technically savvy folks to basically join us and start building awesome products. And they're the types of people that basically are already developing incredible projects in the space, but now they're actually taking it a step further. So we spoke about the launch of Nucleo. We're now fully in. We have some amazing partners to make this happen: Espacio Cripto, Crecimiento, IGT, Silatan, et cetera. But yeah, man, it's been honestly just incredible to see the development of these types of programs. And I think it solves two things. It allows us to onboard net new developers, and then it also, sort of encourages people to become real founders and builders. So yeah, man, it's been going really well. I'm very grateful for this program.
Yeah, I think that I really love our collaboration because community without founders is just, I don't know, vibing, and we need to push startups and founders. So, for example, I'm going to share with you some of the pictures of the event we threw yesterday with Binance, and that was a community event, like a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of people. We even do this Ghibli studio thingy because right now it's going viral in Twitter. But we had 130 people, and the thing is that this is really cool. And now, after 5 years building in Latin America, Espacio Crypto specifically, we see that there is a need to like scale up the level of founders. And another one of a critical message that I want to send the community is that if we don't build this, like people from the US, Europe, and Asia will come and build these companies for us, and we're gonna be their users. I mean, then again, the opportunity is not gonna go away. Someone's gonna grab it, and we need to be pretty vocal about it because we need to push it. And I'm really happy. I don't care if a Mexican founder or I don't know, Argentinian founder or a founder from Asia solves the problem, but I rather that someone local do it because we understand the market, we understand our needs, and I think that moving along the different topics, I think that one of the largest opportunities that we've analyzed is, well, basically our stable coins. And on this Fronteras report, that then again, if you haven't subscribed to the newsletter, you should. We created a deep analysis on the need for a Mexican stable coin and what's the market size. And the market size is in the $1 trillion range. The amount of Mexican pesos in deposits, the amount of remittances, that's huge, and that's an obvious take. And we see that the largest player in the region, Bitso, is launching their stablecoin, MXMB, Etherfuse, with their stable bonds, basically make it easy for anyone to launch an MXN stablecoin. So I'm really bullish on this need of local stablecoins as a way to do better payments and on and off ramps. And I'd love to hear your take on the analysis that we posted. Joker did a great piece about this, and also I'd love to get your take on here on this specific thing that I'm sharing right now in screen. That Bitso announces the creation of Juno, that it's a new company that is born out of the purpose to fortify the infrastructure in basically MXN stablecoins. This company will be responsible of MXMB, Bitso's stablecoin. So, what do you think about this take? I can talk really deeply about it. As you know, years ago when I was at Bitso, I helped kickstart this initiative, and I completely understand the strategy. But first, I'd love to understand your takes and what do you think about it?
The entire world is going to run on stablecoins. Every single financial transaction is going to happen on a blockchain, without a doubt. And so it is very obvious that very big players like Bitso, who is one of, if not the largest and most important centralized exchange in Latin America, is moving into stablecoins. Not just moving into stablecoins, starting new companies around stablecoins, right? Particularly when it comes to remittances, which we talk about all the time, where there's $65 billion in annual remittances from the US to Mexico. Bitso already handles 10% of those remittances. It makes so much sense that Bitso would make this happen and that they're trying to push here. By that said, there is a lot of competition going on right now, right? There's MXNE, there's MXNB, there's MXNT, right? So we're seeing, the Etherfuse ecosystem push things out. We're seeing the Tether ecosystem push this out. We're seeing Bitso push this out. For the users, great news, because in theory, it's going to end up sort of letting the best stablecoin win. I think there's actually some really interesting sort of like infrastructure that needs to be built in order to unify a lot of this ecosystem. But again, I think global stablecoins, we're reaching a point where it probably makes sense to build in this space really deeply. And I also, want to make sure that we are bringing a lot of like innovative insights to the way these stablecoins operate, right? So it's like yield-bearing stablecoins, I think are really fascinating. We already see USDM do this. We see AUSD from the Agora ecosystem as well. So, how can we provide better financial services where literally just by holding the stablecoin in your bank account, you're already generating the yield that maybe your sort of sovereign bond issues. And so now we can give people access to savings as well. So look, this is the thing with sort of this very competitive market is who benefits is the people listening to this and the people who are users of these products, right? So I'm really excited. But as the former head of crypto of Bitso, who really brought a lot of kind of the forward thinking that Bitso now sort of stands today on, give us the sauce on what's going on here with MXNB, why the product, why now, what's the strategy, what's going on with Juno?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if the what I proposed through the
Whatever
show
you
is
can
now.
share.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
exactly.
exactly. So, from my perspective, I know that this project took a round of 3 years. So this is something that is not out of the blue. When I was at Bitso, we really saw this opportunity, and we started talking about like spinning off this company months, like years ago. And what I see is that one of the strongest theses that I have, and dude, I just shared with you Telegram a link of a train of thought of an essay that I'm writing about stablecoins that are basically the essay is about how USD stablecoins are the best way for America to export their debt, and that got me thinking on then why do we need like local stablecoins? And the main thesis that I have then, and I'm like fortifying upon now, is that in the near future, the world is gonna be the uses of money, the use cases for money are gonna be segmented. Today, you have like the medium of exchange and also store of value kind of in the same asset because I don't know, people get paid in Mexican pesos and they have a bunch of bank holdings just sitting there. And in the near future, I think that those two use cases are gonna get segregated. People are gonna use the dollar for store of value, like regular people are. I'm not talking about crypto natives that maybe we store the value of our assets in Bitcoin mostly, Ether, Solana, or whatever you do, but basically Bitcoin. And so the store of value is going to be in dollars in Latin America, and the medium of exchange is going to be in local currency. And in order to make these swaps a lot easier, you need like a centralized way or an efficient way to have liquidity. And the most efficient way to change between store of value and medium of exchange between US dollars and local currencies will be through stablecoins. Definitely. Because the liquidity that you can get there is going to be instant for the user. So that's when we understand that Mexican, specifically the Mexican peso stablecoin, it's basically an on ramp and a way of opening the door for the Mexican financial system to the decentralized economy that we're building. And maybe like with a little bit of hopium, we think of yeah, let's connect it to Uniswap and let's buy NFTs with that. But that's not the point. The point is connecting. You just need one thing, deeply enough with a lot of liquidity pool between Mexican peso and US dollar, and that's a Mexican peso stablecoin and USDC, and from there you can go crazy, right? And when I understood this, that was a pivoting moment for me when we were designing this thing some years ago. Basically, whoever wins here, like the national stablecoin, specifically Mexican peso or whatever, whoever wins the national stablecoin race, they're gonna be critical part of the financial infrastructure of a country. And who doesn't want to be there? Basically, they're going to be front and center of the financial infrastructure for payments, remittances, basically the most important activities in the country. So that was our train of thought back then. A lot of things have changed. And now I'm thinking I'm more bullish than ever on this specific type of assets.
Yeah, I mean, let alone the fact that agents are basically to run entire societies, right? And so, they're also going to be doing this with those stable coins. And, I think we'll basically end up seeing stable coins sort of overrun fiat currency, particularly as we move towards more autonomous ways of doing business. It just makes so much sense. Like, I'm so sick and tired of having to call the freaking airline, wait 3 hours. The process is complete rubbish. Wait in line for a bank for multiple hours. Wait in line to like do legal processes. Like, as I've shared with you before, AI agents are going to absolutely overrun this region, and they're going to 100% be using stablecoins. So,
Yeah.
particularly local stablecoins. So yes, yeah, freaking excited, man.
Yeah, and there are a lot of signals about the importance of stablecoins in these regions, and I think that this is a meme between between you and I, that like the developed market doesn't understand stablecoins, and that's a hot take. They think they do, and they want to export their debt with USDC and USDT and basically USD stablecoins, but we say that they don't understand it because they have never used them. They don't need them. They need them just to speculate, to trade versus a stablecoin, not to trade versus Bitcoin like back in the day 10 years ago. But we need them like a basic store of value. And a big important sign that happened this week and other news is that Bitso is creating the stablecoin conference. It's going to be basically a conference focused on stablecoins. It's going to be in Mexico City the 27th and 28th of August. They say that it's the first event focused 100% focused in stablecoins in the region. Then again, like who was the first, blah blah blah. We don't care about that. This is gonna be a really big conference, dude. I think that we need to be there. I'm gonna contact the Bitso team. Maybe we can host a panel or something, because another data point on how Bitso is doubling down on stablecoins.
That's a very long stablecoin conference, latam.com. That's got to be one of the longer domain names I've seen recently.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, man. Yeah. Again, the world is turning towards stablecoins and real world use cases, and they all exist in Latin America. So let's go.
Yeah, man. And looking at the people that is gonna be there, definitely obvio Daniel Bogle, the founder and CEO of Bitso. Also Zach Abrams, the co-founder and CEO of Bridge. Kuy Sheffield, head of crypto at Visa. So a pretty strong lineup. We're gonna cover. They're partnering with Arbitrum, Solana, Bridge, Circle, Zero Hash, Lightspark. So a lot of different interesting organizations there. And moving along, also on the stablecoin news, this week Coinbase went public to talk about regulation of stablecoins in Brazil. Remember that some episodes ago we were talking about how the Brazilian government, the Brazilian regulators, they wanted to prohibit sending stablecoins to self-custodial wallets, from exchanges to self-custodial wallets. And dude, I completely understand where are they coming from, because if they enable that, basically they can create a lot of sell pressure for the real, and basically they are exporting or they lose control of that specific part of the financial system. And this week, Coinbase said that that regulation went too far, and that they are trying to work with the Brazilian regulators to suggest a way in which they feel comfortable with stable coins and people sending stable coins to their self-custodial wallets. And the way to do that is through KYC, through a strong KYC. And I'd love to hear what you think about this, but maybe like connecting the dots between this specific element of stablecoins in Brazil and the permission pools. Did you see that the permission pools that Coinbase published on Coinbase wallets and Uniswap using a Uniswap hook that basically enables KYC users to trade on specific liquidity pools? Maybe that part of the composability of crypto is the answer. Uh, Maybe the decentralization maxis will say, "Oh, that's not decentralized enough." Blah 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 blah. Blah. Okay, that's their take. But coming back to Earth, we need these guardrails in Latin America. So I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on what do you think that is Coinbase objective with this approach to regulators in Brazil?
Yeah, I think we like both agree that, you know, this is a regulation that we've been calling out literally from the very first episode that we did. And I love when you front run Coinbase. I mean, not that that's, you know, given these companies move at such a slow pace, but I love when we are able to sort of discuss these topics months in advance, and then the thesis plays out, right? So we're talking about how draconian and, you know, evil fundamentally it is to basically be able to not allow people to self-custody their assets, right? And be able to sort of freeze assets that are being held in self-custodial wallets. Like, that's just insane. And so antithetical to this entire industry's ethos, which is all how do we empower sovereignty? How do we bring forth more freedom into the world? So I'm glad that now that in particular Coinbase having such a big weight on the global stage and now also has their licensing sorted out in Brazil is bringing that policy angle to the table, because it isn't just a local developer's job to push for adoption. It isn't just the government's job. It isn't just a US player like Coinbase's job or an ecosystem community leader or an investor.
Our
It's an
job.
entire industry. It's our job. Yeah, it's like
Yeah, yeah.
collectively, right? All these different pieces coming together to make sure that these things don't happen. Like a voice like Coinbase makes a lot of difference when it comes to actually making things happen because they have a big say. So first of all, I just want to say, like, I'm really glad that we've been discussing these topics, you know, and I'd like to think that somehow in the consciousness of, you know, the crypto world in Latin America, you know, we've had a very small part to play in raising some alarm bells around this subject. Number one. And then number two is, you know, we are, as we've said before, it's like once governments put in place regulation, it's really hard to walk it back, particularly in Latin America, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Becomes a pain. We're seeing it now, and one of the most advanced democracies in the United States is just like it's a chaos when you try to rip back regulation, causes, you know, recessions. But yeah, so, you know, we got to be really cautious and very proactive, such that we don't. This isn't like where we start off, but rather have much more nuanced, much more advanced conversations when it comes to the adoption of crypto. And, you know, I think that's in particular for us at Alicia something that we're very much so pushing for, is how do we have nuanced conversations with the regulators such that they're pro innovation and pro development. But yeah, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, well, exactly the same. I mean, having Coinbase, a couple of takes here. Having Coinbase talk about regulation in Brazil just tells you the size of the market. It's a big enough market for them to bet on this and to fight for this, right? And if they're fighting for this, they're entering the market with a lot of strength. I know that Brazil is the most crazy market in Latin America for sure. I saw some photos of a Binance. Uh, I don't know how to say this, like a parade car in Brazil's carnival. That's basically like the most important thing in Brazil. It's like the Super Bowl for Brazilians, like the carnival. And Binance had a big parade car there. So they're also they have a strong stance on dominating the market. And I think that I cannot think of a region in the world out of Brazil where the playing field is so leveled between Binance and Coinbase. And dude, that's so exciting because it's like watching, I don't know, Mike Tyson versus Rocky. You know, they're gonna go for it, compete for the users, compete for the market. That's gonna push a lot of innovation. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that I completely understand regulators here, and this is kind of a weird take for a crypto native, because basically most crypto natives say like, no, regulation shouldn't be like intervening with a lot of, it shouldn't be clunking innovation and all of that sort. But do I completely understand a local government trying to regulate U.S. stablecoins? because basically stablecoins are the best way to package US debt. And when you think about it, why should retail hold US debt, right? Have you thought about that? And that's basically the essay that I'm writing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Nick Carter had a take on this, right, a couple of years ago as well, and how it's actually just like net good for the United States to have more stable coin adoption around the world. And, I think that one thing that's really interesting is like Tether was, if I'm not mistaken, the fourth largest buyer of T-bills last year, which is insane, right? And so again, it just allows the U.S. to be very agile with how it deals with its debt. And this is where I oftentimes think about yield-bearing assets as well, and how do we give people access, right? It's like, hey, I just have a bank account, and by the way, it just so happens that I'm earning like 5, 10, I don't know, 15% yield on these different assets. So, yeah, man, look, I again, like stable coins, they're local stable coins. I think we'll see a slower rollout of them. I think, again, retail will likely end up just preferring US dollar denominated stable coins. I think B2B players are the ones where we'll see a lot more adoption with regards to the way stable coins are adopted and handled.
Dude, in the essay that I'm writing, I realized that, let me check what was the exact number, but like 30% of the T-bills of the in the world, in US T-bills, are held by American people, by US taxpayers. And basically that's a government delivering debt to their citizens. What would happen if they could export that debt? Have you thought about that? Like the global population will be buying debt, and they won't be buying debt just for the sake of yield, but for the sake of store of value. And if that plays out in a couple of years, the US dollar could, like the treasury could have near zero rates, because Mexico don't they we want the dollar. We don't want the yield specifically. Yield is like an add-on. Yield is the cherry on top, but the cake is the dollar. So they could take rates almost close to zero, export their debt. Bank of America will launch a stable coin. Today I saw news. I don't know. Like I need to go further down here, but Wyoming or like a random state is thinking of launching a stable coin. In that world where emerging market has infinite appetite for the dollar, and we obtain that in form of stable coins, rates could go nearly to zero, and that's a
Right.
crazy world.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would like to think that instead of people fleeing to stable coins as store of value, they'll end up going towards something like Bitcoin or any other alternative form of investment. And I think it would be a much, it's like average compounded annual growth rate of Bitcoin over the course of the last 10 years nets out to about 60
Yeah,
to 70%, right? And so you give me the alternative, and obviously there's diminishing returns every year, but you give me the option between a stable coin that's going to be earning me, very little to Bitcoin, and I'm obviously going to be preferring Bitcoin, right? So I feel like that's the maybe left and right curve take simultaneously, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And maybe like the middle curve is like, oh, I'll hold, stable coins that, automatically generate yield. But, there's a lot of like
yeah,
challenges there. But I know a lot of opportunities too. Like, okay, when you think about sort of the growth rate of Bitcoin, what does that mean for stable coin and the way you ensure people get access and yield to it? Yeah.
I think I mean, stable coins, the dollar has 10 times more lindy than 15 times more lindy than Bitcoin. Well, 10
Bro,
times, like
I would say
150
that.
years.
Yeah. And like how much more mind share, right? Like 1,000 times
Exactly.
more mind share.
And the data point that I wanted to share with you, US holders right now, without considering on external funds like mutual funds and stuff, US holders have 19.7 trillion dollars in T-bills. They are 54% of the total US debt. And in this essay that I'm gonna publish in the next couple of weeks, I'm gonna analyze that versus bank deposits in emerging markets. That's also trillions of dollars, right?
Right.
Obviously, I rather people hold Bitcoin, but I don't think that that's gonna happen in the next 10 years. Like a scenario where people are holding Bitcoin is I think it's almost an apocalyptic scenario. But yeah, dude, I'm super excited about this essay. Please go through the train of thought. It's really raw. I use I use this automatic writing approach that is a surrealist thing that I learned at a writing course. It's super cool. But I'm gonna publish it. I'd love your input there. And dude, closing. Where are you gonna be next week?
I'm gonna be in Ecuador, and I'll be there for
What?
a while.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay, okay. Cool. So
So
we're gonna see guacamayas flying behind you.
yeah. Oh man, yeah. This is gonna be the first break in a very long time. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Well deserved, man. Well deserved.
Yeah. Well, I guess
Amazing.
like geographical break. Like, if anything, I'll
Yeah.
probably be working like 5 times as much. But geographically, I'll be much more settled and not shifting. So the audience can expect a stable background every time. Yeah, man. How about you? You going back to Mexico City? What are upcoming movements for you?
Back to Mexico City. No confirmed trips for a round of 6 weeks. That can always change. I was not planning to come to Monterrey until last week, but excited to be locked in, waking up at 3:85. You know, the classical stuff, the
Yeah,
ice in the
yeah,
face, the banana peeling, and all of that stuff, shit that you need to do to to be in founder
yeah,
mode.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, but dude, thank you again. Have a
yeah.
nice time there in Argentina. Send some
Thank you,
photos
brother.
about asados,
Let's
and
go.
you can follow Kush at 0xKush. You can follow me at Abraham CR. Subscribe to Frontera. Follow us on Twitter. And thank you for coming. And next week we'll keep talking about this region that it's fascinating and that we want to push. Thank you, dude.
Bam. Let's go.